Hello and welcome to the Vaults of Terra. My name is Ed and today we're going to be continuing our Grey Knights videos by having a little look at their organisation and their ranks and roles within the Grey Knights Space Marine chapter. Now, as I've alluded to in our previous video, the Grey Knights are not exactly a standard chapter. They are organised into a very different structure to that of the codex chapters such as the Ultramarines or the Blood Angels. Now, the chapter is subdivided into Brotherhoods, which are the equivalent of a Space Marine company and consist roughly of 100 battle brothers. Each of these is overseen by a Grand Master and are also overseen by a Brother Captain. Now, there are 8 known Grey Knight Brotherhoods, plus the Purifier and the Paladin Order, which is an elite brotherhood within the Grey Knights. Now, most of the chapter's strength is actually spread throughout the Imperium, not located in one single chapter world, like, say, Baal or Macragge. Now, this means that the Grey Knights often operate in very small units, such as squads and sometimes companies, if the danger is worthy enough. This means that a lot of the Grey Knights will live and die as one squad, and will usually know each other from almost the moment they arrive in their chapter to the moment they are killed in battle. Now, the recruitment of Grey Knights is actually quite different to that of the recruitment of other Space Marine chapters. Unlike most chapters which have specific worlds or just a world which they visit to get their recruits, Grey Knights recruits actually come from the Black Ships. Now, the Black Ships actually ferry psychers from the various worlds in the Imperium to Terra in order to get them tested and checked to allot them to their specific purpose within the Imperium. Now, the Grey Knights take some of the most physically adept and some of the most talented psychers from these Black Ships, which are then brought to Titan for testing. Now, each of these recruits must pass the 666 rituals of detestation to prove they are capable of withstanding the horrors that would even break the greatest of normal Space Marines. Now, when they succeed in this test, if they do so, the recruit has the majority of their memories and their personality erased, unlike many other Space Marine chapters. Now, this ensures they have no residual corruption from their previous life, and that their loyalty is now unwaveringly altered to be towards the Emperor and no other. A new Grey Knight is augmented in much the same way a normal Space Marine recruit would be, with all the 19 gene seed organs implanted into their body to enable them to become more physically adept and take on the physique of a Space Marine. Now, if you want more detail about that, you'll have to go and look at my Space Marine biology video. But there is one difference, and that is silver purity wards, which are traced under the skin of the recruit. This is so that the physical nature and the physical body of the Grey Knight is protected from the warp and corruption they will be forced to fight in their many years in the Grey Knights. Now, as I said, the recruits are stripped of their memory when they become Grey Knights. This includes even their name being taken from them. Whilst in training, they are given a designated number, and once they finally graduate from the training to become a full-blown Grey Knight, they are given a name. Now, not just to make them sound more fierce, but in fact, each Grey Knight name is actually the fragment of magical lore that acts in perfect opposition to a name of a particular demon. Thus, if they come across said demon, they are able to combat them far more effectively with just their name, on top of their weapons and other such armaments that they have to fight demonic incursion. Now, I want to talk a little bit about their homeworld. The Fortress Monastery of the Grey Knights is actually based, as I mentioned previously, in the Sol system on Titan. Now, Titan orbits Saturn, and is actually very well protected because Saturn is one of the primary bases of the Inquisition, significantly the Ordo Malleus, or Demon Hunters. Now, their fortress is, as you would expect any Grey Knight's fortress to be, very big and imposing, with much room dedicated to housing and training the Grey Knights when they are not out in the wider galaxy hunting demons. There are some significant features of the Fortress Monastery, which include the crypt. Now, a lot of Space Marines do bury their dead, but for the Grey Knights it is a very specific ritual. Every member of the chapter will have their body recovered and brought to the crypt beneath the Emperor's temple on Titan, and it is a tradition that has gone back many thousands of years to the foundation of the Grey Knights. The other significant feature of the Fortress Monastery is also the Librarium Demonica, the Imperium's foremost repository for lore on demonology and the warp. Now, moving on from the Fortress Monastery, the hierarchy of the Grey Knights is also something I wanted to mention. Now, as I mentioned, there are differences between Codex chapters and the Grey Knights, and I will mention some of that now, mainly in their ranks. Now, the Grey Knights are commanded by the Supreme Grand Master. Now, this is the highest rank attainable by a Grey Knight, and it is only with the vote of all the other Grand Masters that a Supreme Grand Master can actually obtain this rank, because they are in sole command of the Grey Knights, next to those in the Inquisition. Now, of course, they will also be a member of the Inquisition themselves, not originally, but will obtain this rank by dint of being Supreme Grand Master. Next come the Grand Masters, as I've already alluded to. Now, there are 8 of them, and they have complete command over their Grey Knight Brotherhood. Thus, it is they who decide where they go, what they do, and exactly what their orders are when they reach a command theatre, unless, of course, they are out of contact with the Grand Master. Also in a Brotherhood is a Brother Captain. Now, they rank below a Grand Master, but they still command the Brotherhood itself. The Brother Captain is in command of more strategic elements and the fighting directly, whereas the Grand Master actually controls the overall theatre when it comes to combating the demonic, and will also be an interface between the Brotherhood and the Inquisition itself, along with the Supreme Grand Master. Now, there are other roles within the Grey Knights that you would recognise from other codex chapters, such as the Chaplain, the Librarian, and the Tech Marine, all of which share similar roles to those of their codex counterparts. However, they are all in fact psychers, as is every Grey Knight, and thus will have great power, including the Grey Knight's Librarian, who is of course one of the most powerful psychers you would come across in a Space Marines chapter, being a recognised psyker amongst other psychers. Another rank is the Brotherhood Champion. Now, these are at the forefront of every single Brotherhood, and their main armament is a sword, as they dedicate their lives to protecting their Grand Master and championing any cause that the Brotherhood must undertake. Now, one of the most common ranks above that of a standard Grey Knight is that of Justicar. Justicars are leaders of Grey Knight squads, and each have specialist training in order to handle the vast powers that are controlled by the Grey Knights themselves. Of course, at the very basis are Battle Brothers, who call themselves Battle Brothers like any other Codex chapter. Finally, I just want to talk about the tactics. Now, the tactics of the Grey Knights are rather specialist. They don't like the drawn-out combat that is common even with other Space Marine chapters. They prefer deep striking, travelling through the warp via teleport, or being inserted by Thunderhawk or Stormraven in order to get very close to their target very quickly, deal with it, then be extracted quickly as well. Not that the Grey Knights are any less combat efficient than those in other chapters, but their role is significantly more specialist. They are to deal with the demons, they are not to deal with the wider threat unless it would help defeat the demon. Thus you can see how the Grey Knights maintain their secrecy when they are rarely even seen by other members of the Imperium, let alone the forces that are fighting alongside them in combat. So that's everything I wanted to mention today in relation to the Grey Knights. We'll be back next time with a final rounding off of the Grey Knights with their equipment. If there is anything else that you guys would like to see, or another Space Marine chapter you want to see coming up next, then do let us know. If you have any specific questions that you'd like me to answer directly, you can either contact us via a private message, or you can leave a comment below and we'll see about getting back to you. So that's everything I wanted to mention today. See you next time on the Vaults of Terra.